and the tough decisions that I'm making are worth it because I'm putting my hope in how many families this will affect. Are you overwhelmed by motherhood and barely keeping your head above water? Are you confused and frustrated by how all the other moms make it look so easy? You can't figure out how to manage the chaos in your mind, your home, or your family. I get you, mama. Parenting with ADHD is hard. Here is your permission slip to let go of the Pinterest-worthy visions of organization and structure fit for everyone else. Let's do life like our brains do life, creatively, lovingly, and with all our might. When we embrace who we are and how our brains work, we can figure out how to live our lives successfully and, in turn, lead our families well. At the end of the day, we just want to be good moms. But, spoiler alert, you are already a great mom. ADHD does not mean you're doomed to be a hot mess, mama. You can rewrite your story from shame spiral to success story. And I'll be right here beside you to cheer you on. Welcome to Motherhood in ADHD. Hey there, Successful Mama. It's your friend, Patricia Sung. Have I got a story for you? But I got some good news. I got some even better news first. I have so much to say, and I got to write it in. So, first up, I have signed my publishing contract. So I will officially be a published author come 2027. So the book is going to come out in February of 2027. That means that first I'm going to stop spewing details and just celebrate the moment with you. Because if it wasn't for you listening to this podcast, I never would have ended up here. I'm still in awe that here's where I am because this is not where I saw myself being. But this year, my word of the year, which was actually technically a phrase, was let go. And I have on my phone screen to remind myself because I need lots of reminders. It says, let go. Hold everything loosely so that there's space for what's next, as you do not know the full plan. This was so much illustrated to me this week, which is what my story's about in a sec. But I just want to celebrate for a second because I think this is something that we, as women who have ADHD, don't do. We don't celebrate. We don't appreciate how we've worked hard to get somewhere, even if it's not where we thought we would be. And wow, I'm just still I am still a bit without words to be I'm going to be a published author. That's crazy. I never set out to do that, but I honestly think if I dig deep down, it's because I didn't think I could. Not that I didn't want that. I feel like there was some time capsule when I was little about, girls third grade, you make those little time capsules. I'm pretty sure I talked about how much I loved writing. But as I got older, trying to write things in school that felt really hard because I did not know I had ADHD. I'm very prolific when I'm excited and passionate about something, but when it's something I'm not, writing's really hard for me. And I think I just took on that identity of being light. Writing is hard for me and never thought that I could be a published author, even though little Patricia really liked writing. And actually, that kind of goes in with the story later too, interestingly enough. But yeah, I just want to celebrate. This, I did not realize that this is where I was going, but I did it. I signed with Sheldon Press, which is under Hachette, which is one of the big 5 publishers. And again, I always thought I would self-publish my book. I didn't think I would go with a publisher, but in looking at all the options, this really was the best setup for the season that I'm currently in. And I really appreciate being able to bounce ideas off my editor and I think it's a good fit. Who knows? We're right at the beginning here. The contract's only been signed for 2 weeks, I think, as I'm recording this. And yeah, I'm really proud of myself. And I want you to be proud of the things that you do. And it doesn't have to be as big as a book deal. I'm also proud that I'm 3 weeks into summer and I have not disowned my children or, walked off, or I have not tossed anybody out a window or totally lost my ish by some miracle of the Lord, because it has been an adjustment. So it can be even just those little things of I made it. I made it this far. I made it 3 weeks into summer and I'm still smiling and laughing about it. There have been times where I was not smiling and times where I'm can you please just get in the car? But overall, we need to celebrate more of those little things. It's a need to celebrate the things that we have done. So details, it's due February 2027. That means that I have to turn in my manuscript February of 2026, which sounds really far away. Oh my gosh, I have so much time to write this book. Oh no, I do not. Given that my sense of time is terrible, I worked backwards to be like, okay, what does this look like? How am I going to get there? And we even pushed back the deadline a bit because originally we were going to wrap it up in the fall, but it took us a while to get through the contract negotiations. And so by the time we actually signed it, it was like, ooh, that's probably too much for me to try to get it done by October, given that it's now summertime. And I was steadily working on it towards the beginning of the year. And then all the crazy stuff came in with the end of the school year and stuff. And I really wasn't getting a lot done, which I talked to you about last time, and realizing I just need more space. So we pushed it back a little bit, but that really doesn't give me a lot of time. So I worked backwards of like, okay, I've got to turn the manuscript in February 1st, but that's really like the end of January. Because if my agreement here is February, it thinks I actually get February and I don't. It's February 1st. So it's really the end of January that it's due. And if I look at January, like one of my kids' birthdays is in there. We're coming off the holidays. Like there's really only like 2 or 3 like work weeks in January for me, like between other stuff going on. And I really want that month to be like for editing and making sure that like all the final touches are on. So like if I look back, I'm like, okay, well, December, that's the holidays plus the end of November. Like I don't really want to be doing a major stressful project during the holidays. So it's like, okay, well, I really want to get this done before the holidays. So I set my goal for me is to have the manuscript finished by the beginning of November so that I have like the middle-ish November for buffer space and hopefully have most of it done before the holidays start, knowing that I then have January to like tie up the loose ends, finish up editing, and it'll be done in February. But if I think about that end of November, that's really the end of October. What else is happening in October? The retreat, which is a big project. And if you haven't gotten your ticket, there's still a couple of deluxe tiny homes available. So go get it. It's patriciasung.com/retreat. But like I have a lot of planning to do in October for you who are going to come and have a lovely weekend. So throughout September and October, we're going to be working on that. And then it was like, oh, wait, that really like brings me up to like the beginning of school. So the first week of school is really busy. And then the weeks around the retreat, I always give myself like a week to recover and like rest because it's a lot of work for me. Like I love it, but like it's still, it's effort. So I give myself the week after to be like, whew, I did it and have some rest. I don't like plan a bunch of meetings that week. But it's like, well, if I start taking out those weeks and the like beginning of school and like I look at the summer of like when the kids, what like weeks they're in camp versus when we're going on vacation, all of a sudden I like did the math and it was like, oh my gosh. Oh no. And then also like considering things like I think about like my cycle syncing and like there's going to be some weeks where I don't feel good and like somewhere in there somebody might get a stomach bug. And like I did all the calculations out to be like I have about 10 weeks where it will be like writing weeks, which is not a lot of time to write a book. 10 weeks. 10 weeks to write a book. Right now I have about 15,000 words. My goals are like roughly around 70,000 words, knowing that like a good chunk of them will get cut in the editing process because I'm a very wordy person. If you haven't noticed, I'm like, wow, I got to write like 55,000 words in 10 weeks. And I have a lot of chapters. Right now I have my plan is like 42 chapters because I want them to be short and manageable. So like you feel like you feel accomplished when you read a chapter, but I don't want them to be super duper long because a lot of us have like learning disabilities and issues with reading and attention, all that. So I try to keep them short. So I'm looking at like 55,000 words or like 40-ish chapters. That means every week that I'm on, like these 10 weeks that are like, go writing weeks, I'm having to write like the goal is like about 5,500 or like 6,000 words or 4 chapters in that week that like I'm on. That is a lofty goal. I'm okay with it because I know that there's a lot of other weeks in there that I'm not going to be working on it. So it's like, I'm going to like, go balls to the walls when I'm doing it, but then I have space in between to rest. But that's a lofty goal. I'm not going to lie. I'm a hustle. I got to hustle. But it's a really good reminder for myself to be like, hey, when your deadline seems really far away, it's like, I'll just put that up. And I can't. In this case. So when I walk through the plan, like work backwards and figure out like, and to see like, oh, this is what it actually looks like. It's about 10 weeks of writing going, at tornado speed in those weeks that I'm really working on the, like getting everything out of my brain and onto the page. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be polished. It's not edited, but like just to get it all out. That's so much more helpful for my brain to see that like this is not a date that's like way off in the sunset somewhere. I need those markers frequently and in front of me. And like, I need the shorter deadlines to make my brain know that this is like the task at hand. So that's one of the ways that I'm supporting myself and getting this done. I'm also supporting myself with some help around the house because like as a business owner, I don't usually feel bad spending money on business of stuff, like, because it feels official. But I will feel bad about help at home, which sounds kind of silly because, like, when I look at it, I'm like, Patricia, there's only so many hours in the day. So if you're doing work, that's an hour you're not doing home stuff. I want to say homework, but like work at home or, mom stuff. It's like there's still only so many hours in the day. And there's things that I don't need to be doing. And actually, like, most of the stuff in my business I like doing. There's some things that I like really could be fine never doing again. But if I like doing those things, why would I not get help doing the stuff that I don't like? So I have some help like with stuff around the house, like laundry and dishes and that kind of stuff, just extra support there in this time, especially with my husband traveling a lot. And I need help. I need help. I'm going to write this book in 10 weeks. I need help. And I'm also supporting myself by re-signing with my business coach, who is Tracy Stanger. You've heard her on the podcast before. Like, she's so good at helping me prioritize and work through like what's on my mind and what is it okay to put down, and having an extra like outside set of opinions, an objective person to be like, it's okay that you don't work on this right now. Like, and holding myself accountable, which I'm like, I'm not going to go on my accountability soapbox today because I got to record this before I go pick up my kids from camp in like 15 minutes. So I'm on time clock, Patricia. No sidebars. We don't have time for that. Okay. Making sure that I am supporting myself in the way that I need to get where I need to go. And I know that my support's not going to necessarily look like your support. And what I need in this season is going to be really different than what I needed last season or that I might need in 2 years. But like, I got 10 weeks to write a book. So I now have the fire under my rear to make this happen. Because now the deadline has been signed in ink and I have a financial penalty if I turn the book in late. So like we got to go. And knowing that it's okay for me to ask for extra help when I'm taking on this extra really big project. That it is okay to ask for support, to get help where I need it, when I need it in that season. And that like one of the hardest things with having ADHD is like the concept of time. And a lot of times it's like, I don't understand sometimes, like my brain doesn't connect with like what's going on right now isn't necessarily permanent. And like what I'll be dealing with in 2 months is not necessarily going to look like right now. And that's one of the like places where I see my ADHD shows up the most is that the concept of time and, seasons changing and what have you. And that I like want my willingness to ask for help and support as I take on this huge project to like give you the permission slip also to ask for the help that you need, no matter what that looks like for you, but that it's okay to get some help or to ask the people around you to pitch in and to like, I have a ton of friends who have offered to like take the kids for play dates so that I can spend an hour or two writing. And like, normally I'm like, oh no, it's okay. I'm fine. No, I'll meet you there and I'll hang out with you. And like my friends are like, no, your job is to write the book. Your kids can come with my kids. They'll actually be more entertained because someone's here. Like, let me do this for you. And it has been a monumental shift in me allowing other people to help me. And it still makes me feel a wee bit uncomfortable. And I just keep telling myself, I'm just going to put all those people in the thank you part of the acknowledgements. I hope I don't forget them. To be like, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for helping me as a mom be able to do this project that most people don't do with young kids. Most people write their book when they're, the CEO that has a whole team behind them and they're like old white dudes who don't have to deal with toddlers, like, or people who are empty nesters, like people who have less responsibilities have capacity for writing books. And so for all the moms who want to write a book, like I want to prove that this is doable for us and that it's okay for us to ask for help. In the like season of time that it takes you to write this book, you are welcome to ask for help. And it doesn't just go for like having a big project. It's like recognizing that in the season that you're in, you may need something different than you need in a different season. And that's okay. So let me just put that soapbox down and tell you my story that has to go along with all this. It's time to be who you are unapologetically. No more contorting or shrinking yourself to fit inside the box. Instead, you're going to feel the freedom of just being yourself because you are more accepting of who you truly are. You're invited, Mama, to this year's 4th annual Successful as a Mother Weekend Retreat. It is time to relax, unwind, rest, and take care of a very important person in the family, which is you. This year's retreat is on October 10th through 12th, 2025, and you are invited. This is an all-inclusive retreat. It covers your meals, your hotel, all of your activities. You literally only have to show up, and I will take it from there. We are staying at the peaceful Happy Goat Retreat just outside of Houston, Texas. I have rented the entire property, so we have it all to ourselves, where we will enjoy nature and breathe deep in the fresh air and the calm of the lake and the sway of the trees. But this is not camping, this is glamping. You will stay in your very own adorable, modern, tiny home with your own comfy queen-size bed, your own private bathroom, and living space that's just for you. Go check out the pictures I posted on my website because it is so cute! We will spend the weekend learning about our ADHD and tune into who you are and what you need so that you can trust your gut and love yourself a little bit more. All while eating delicious food you didn't cook, you didn't clean up, and hanging out with awesome other ADHD mamas who are just like you in this journey of understanding ADHD and also trying to do all the things, but not this weekend. This weekend, you are doing none of the things. You are relaxing. I will take care of everything and you get to focus on you. Head over to my website, patriciasung.com/retreat and get your ticket. This is a small group of 14 mamas, and we already have a bunch of mamas going, so I don't have a ton of spots left. This means do not wait. Do not procrastinate. When you hear this, this is your sign. Go sign up. Get your ticket, and by signing up now, you have access to the shrinking payment plan before it's gone. There's no extra charges for that. So go sign up. Get your ticket and take a weekend to relax and take care of yourself while I do all the work. Head over to patriciasung.com/retreat and get your ticket for the 4th annual ADHD Moms Amazing Getaway Weekend and relax. patriciasung.com/retreat. One of my best friends is having a really tough time right now. And she is on the struggle bus and without going into all the details, it's just been a really hard time. One of them is with her kids. One of the kids, they're looking for another school. There's been a lot of stress there. And so she was having a rough day the other day and we're texting back and forth late night. And she says to me, I just want to sit and cry, but I don't have time to waste on that. And I disagreed with her. I told her, I don't think that crying is a waste at all. We can't get past our feelings without going through them. So crying is not wasted. We can't stay there forever, but letting our feelings out is how we get through them. And just stuffing them all down does not actually move us forward. That's a whole other can of worms that stuffed feelings create. But it's never wasted when we cry. And especially if you're crying out to God and being I really need help here. I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to fix this and I need your help. That is never wasted effort, and God never wastes those trials. And this was just totally whacked me upside the head the next morning. So we go through this whole conversation where I'm listen, it is not a waste for you to cry. It is not a waste to feel your feelings. We are meant as humans to feel feelings. That's why we were created to have feelings. And that's how we get through them. And yes, at some point we do have to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and keep going. But feelings aren't wasted. Crying's not wasted. And if you believe in a higher power, I think God wastes nothing. I think he uses everything that we're going through for our good. And no, it's not to say that he's punishing us because you made a bad decision and now you gotta deal with this. We live in a world where a lot of bad things happen. So you didn't necessarily cause these things, and he's not giving you consequences. There are consequences to our actions, but he's not punishing you. But he does allow us to struggle because we don't learn very well when we don't struggle. Let's be real here. We do not learn anything when everything's easy. We don't learn stuff. So we have to go through the struggle in order to learn, in order to grow. We can't become a better version of ourselves or a more mature version of ourselves or a changed version of ourselves by doing the same thing all the time. We have to deal with things and learn how to adapt and persevere and, increase our grit in order to be the next version of ourselves. So I gave my friend this pep talk. I'm you can do it. I know this is really hard. I know this really sucks. Everything about this is too much. And it's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to set your worries at God's feet and be I can't do this by myself. I need your help. That's part of our worship to him, is to give up and be it's not me, it's you. I will rely on you because I, feeble little human here, cannot do it on my own. I need you to help me to get through this. And we don't understand it at the time. We don't get the struggle that's going on because we don't have the gift of hindsight yet to turn around and be like, look where it is. Well, don't you know, the Lord brought me hindsight the next morning. So the same friend, the next morning, she's like, I'm feeling a lot better. And she texts me this article and she's like, this pastor who I'm not really familiar with, but I've heard his name before. His name's Tim Keller, who was like a prolific writer and went through like really awful cancer journey at the end. And this article is like written about the songs that he picked out for his memorial and just how he persevered through the end of being so sick and found so much joy, even though life was really hard at the end. She's like, this article just really was powerful. It helped me know that like this was part of his story, was ministering to people and sharing his joy through the pain of all the cancer treatments at the end of his life. And can I tell you the ugly bawling that I read this article? Not because I literally don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. But when I tell you that God wastes nothing, here's my best friend crying over some really hard stuff. And I told her in that sequence of text was like, I cried so hard when my mom passed away, which has now been 20 years. And I distinctly remember like a couple days after she passed away, sitting on the front curb of my dad's house, just bawling. And I was talking to my best friend from when I was growing up and just, ugly crying. I easily could be like, those tears were wasted. Like I can't bring her back. I'm just trying to get all of this sadness out of me, which is like literally impossible when you lose somebody that important to you. And I easily could have thought like those tears were wasted because they didn't change the situation. Like my mom was still dead. She's still dead now. Like the crying didn't change any of that. But when I tell you, I read this article, shortly into the article, it starts talking about some clinical trial that he had been trying because he got COVID and like it was just really hard. And he did some experimental stuff in a clinical trial that was derived from some gallbladder cancer research about the DNA mutations that have been identified. The article cites nothing more than this, but I know that rewind 15 years ago, when my husband and I got married, we did not give out favors to our guest. My sweet, sweet husband instead looked up where there was gallbladder cancer research being done because that's what my mom passed away from. And there was literally a singular place doing gallbladder cancer research, which was at Johns Hopkins, because gallbladder cancer is a very rare cancer. And it also primarily affects minorities, which means there's not funding there. And Johns Hopkins was the only place that had gallbladder cancer research going on. So my sweet husband starts a research fund with Johns Hopkins for the singular professor who is doing research on gallbladder cancer. So we have been funding Dr. Rubin's work for now 15 years. We have slowly over time built up funds there, and then they use the interest on that money to pay for the research. And Dr. Rubin is the one who he and his team mapped the DNA mutations that happen in gallbladder cancer. Our research fund funded that research that is now here sitting in this article about some pastor I've barely heard of. And they wrote an article about it, which now my best friend is saying helped her so much, and she's sending it to me now 15 years later, 20 years after my mom passed away, about how this article really helped her today. And I'm sure it helped Tim Keller with his cancer a whole lot more than that. The fund that we started 15 years ago, because of my mom passing away 20 years ago, is now shown up on my telephone and proved to me that while I could have said that those tears sitting on the front curb of my dad's house were wasted, and I'm getting confirmation 20 years later, those tears were not wasted. That trial was not wasted. That struggle was not wasted, because the loss of my mom and how it affected me is what brought my husband to say, what if we did this? Instead of giving out favors, what if we started investing our money into this fund so that doctors can research? Because he knew how much I loved my mom, that he was willing to do that he even thought to do that. He's an excellent gift giver, by the way. How crazy is that? What's the likelihood? There's no way I could have told you 20 years ago, sitting on the curb crying, that it could come to anything, let alone the ripple effect that research has had on who knows how many hundreds of families, that hopefully it will help find the cure at some point. But that research helped this pastor who they wrote the article that my friends, it's just like blows my mind. We don't understand at all the ripple effects that happen with the actions that we take today, which makes me think, you know what? There's been so many hard decisions in saying I'm going to write this book and how many things I've had to cut so that I have space for it. And I don't know the effect that my book will have. I don't know what's going to happen once I put those words on the page and send them out into the universe. I don't know. But this week, I got the gift of seeing that my struggle from 20 years ago and my choices from 15 years ago made a huge difference. And we don't usually get that kind of confirmation, but it makes it worth it to me to know, like, it's like that little like nudge of God saying like, you don't get it, Patricia, but you don't have to. Like, I'm working on all this. I am making sure all the pieces come into place. And like that struggle of losing your mom was not wasted. It wasn't lost. Like, was it hard? Yes. Was it terrible? Yes. Like, would I wish it on anyone? No. But still there is beauty that comes from that. So when we make hard choices in the moment and we don't understand why or what's going on or how this is all going to come together, we don't have to. What we have to do is trust that this is what we were asked to do and we do it. So I have a renewed hope that while I don't understand how this book ended up in my lap, it did, and it's my job to follow it through. And the tough decisions that I'm making are worth it because I'm putting my hope in how many families this will affect in years to come, the ripple out effect and I say at the beginning of the podcast every time, it's like that changing the paradigm of how we look at ADHD and what you're doing matters, mama. Even when it feels like it doesn't, it matters. Thank you for being here. And I'll talk to you soon, Successful Mama. For more resources, classes, and community, head over to my website, motherhoodinadhd.com.